Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Mat. I am your host, Brother Calvin Muhammad. And of course, if you've been tuning in to Beyond the Mat, we want to kind of make sure that we give you the understanding of why we do what we do. For those of you all who've been following the National Training Corps, you know that this year we celebrated in 2021 our 26th annual National Training Seminar and Conference. And so one of the things that I was talking to Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad about, who is the national trainer of the Nation of Islam and inspired by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to provide this platform for now over 26 years, he wanted to make sure that people did not have to wait to kind of engage in the subject matter and the things that take place, number one. Number two, we've come to realize that even after 26 years, people have a misconception of what the national training actually does and what we're about. They tend to think that it's just a bunch of martial artists that come together and we train, which there is a portion, but believe it or not, that's probably the smallest portion of the national training. Most of the training takes place off the mat, hence the subject and why we title our dialogues Beyond the Mat. And so we're going to get into this week a sister who has really become a core part of the national training. And if you've had an opportunity to watch her or follow her, which I'm sure some of you have, I know personally, I have learned a lot about the subject that we're going to talk about today. I am honored to bring to you a sister who really needs no introduction. A sister whom, after you listen to this dialogue today, you will want to make sure you're staying engaged to what she's doing. I am honored to be here and have a conversation with our sister, Sister Danielle. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum salam, sir. How are you doing?
I am absolutely wonderful. How are you doing today?
I'm thankful to Almighty God. Allah, I am well.
Praise be to Allah. You know, I'm going to be honest with you, sister. I have really been looking forward to this conversation. You are doing an incredible work, and I've learned so much from you about the work that you're doing in the subject that you're doing that, you know, I had to actually rethink my position. I had to rethink where I stood and what I can do in that particular area. So what I've come to know you as, and this is through education, things that I've heard you talk about and people that you talk to and your activity in the community, what I know you as is an anti-trafficking advocate. And this is why I call that, because you taught me the difference between sex trafficking, the difference between human trafficking, and the difference between organ trafficking. If you don't mind, can you give the listening audience and those who are watching you, what are the differences between those three things? Because people have, like myself, have the tendency to conflate them as one thing, but they're different things. Could you explain exactly what they are?
Yes, sir, no problem. First of all, I want to say thank you for this invitation. Clearly, I want to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan definitely for making this platform to be able to even have these conversations. And of course, our teacher, Grandmaster Abdulaziz, for inventing this great idea of making this happen for the believers and for our communities. And by you following your instructions, Brother Calvin, and making it happen. So I'm honored dearly, and I'm excited. Now, with the sex trafficking, you asked first. Sex trafficking is the exploitation of a person, a woman, a man, or even a child, and they're sold not willingly. A child can be utilized over and over again. Unfortunately, sex trafficking is higher than drug usage or drug trafficking right now. In Texas and Dallas right now, every night, at least 400 children, youth are coming up missing in the evening of every night. It's happening more than we would even want to talk about, or we even realize it's happening. But our children, our women are being snatched, and men are being snatched and sold under their will, or not willingly, I would say, and they're used for normal sexual activities. Then it goes into the human trafficking. Human trafficking is our modern slavery. You are doing labor, not getting paid for what you do, and mistreated, abused, put into basements, put into picking cotton in 2021, as I often say, field picking a vegetable that you eat on your plate when you eat dinner at night. That was picked by someone who was forced and beat into making those things happen. Example of human trafficking. And of course, our organ harvesting, which is a very undiscussed conversation too in our homes, with trafficking of organs. They call it the black market, where they're taking our organs, not willingly, of course. You're being outright murdered, and they're taking your kidneys, your stomach, your spleen, your toenails, whatever they can get that someone may need, and they're selling those organs on the black market for a cheaper price. Of course, many people have had organ exchanges, be it kidney transplants or heart transplants, and they're put on a list for a time period, right? But then you have those individuals who have money who are able to buy these organs sooner and pay more money sometimes and be able to get what they need. The Rothschild was actually on his 4th heart transplant, if I'm not mistaken, and those were all purchased by and under the black market.
Absolutely. I just read that article and I was absolutely astounded by an organ recipient myself. I was astounded that here's a man who, and I believe it was, I think a little higher than 4, that he was able to get transplants. And you know, this is not like a kidney transplant where somebody can actually still live after the transplant. You're talking about a human heart. This man received 8 human hearts, which is unheard of in regard to transplants. So that's very enlightening that you mentioned that.
You mentioned 8. That's even, I would say, even more extreme. If there's 8 that is being used, that means there's 8 lives that have been taken, Brother Calvin. And of course, not by choice. And even in the foreign countries, they are told, you know, with their kidneys, they'll pay them $3,000-$4,000 to get their kidney out. And then they butcher them open, take their kidneys out. They wake up, where my money at, and not being paid for even those things. You know, so it's a very, over in the other countries, it happens frequently because they have no money. They have no money for groceries. They have no food for their families. So that man is willing to give his kidney up for his family. And then it never happens, you know? So these things are happening a lot in other countries as well. Not just in America, but throughout the whole world. Organ harvesting, sex trafficking, and human trafficking is a worldwide issue.
Wow. You know, going to sex trafficking, which in the definition of it is heartbreaking in and of itself. Sometimes, you know, we sit down and watch movies and we see these things happening, and there's this heroic end to, by the end of the movie, there's some type of heroic end to it. But, you know, I've watched the things that you've done, the different talks that you've had, and done some of my own research, and even in my own metropolitan area. It's, and help me to understand this, it's almost impossible for anybody to be living, especially if you're living in the inner cities of America, and not have sex trafficking around you somewhere. Would that be an accurate statement?
It's darn near impossible. Be it at work, at your children's school, church, mosque, organization meetings, things that happen that you're there often. If you haven't been touched directly by this activity, it's somebody in the room who definitely has been affected by one of the 3.
Wow, that's really alarming to understand and know that it is that prevalent, that it is to some degree like that. Now, again, one of the misperceptions and misconceptions that I had to reformulate my mind of is that we are so used to being programmed, and again, maybe it's the fault of Hollywood or what have you, that this is something that, you know, you got to look out for the white vans in your neighborhood that are riding through, and some inconspicuous man coming up to you and luring children or luring women. But if you can explain that, although that may still happen, what are the most common ways in which sex trafficking occurs?
I mean, it happens in different scenarios, be it from your own porch with the children who are on the porch or in the backyard and they're being snatched.
Mhm.
You have women who leave their jobs from work and their own co-worker has been conned into snatching 3 or 4 women a month or even one woman a month and being paid $8,000 for that. Or even the woman or man who's riding in the Uber to work or to school or to a function and whatnot, and they're snatched into human trafficking, organ harvesting, or sex trafficking. Then you have your children who go to the mall with their friends, and they have what's called recruiters, and the recruiter could be an uncle or even themselves, their own peers, who are paid money to be able to recruit a certain amount of their friends into the rings of the world. Then you have those children who are exploited during the Super Bowl halftime shows, and they're dancing and they're whatnot, drugged up and whatnot, and they're used into sex trafficking or human trafficking. Then you have those foreign individuals, our brown communities, who are taken into the human trafficking and the sex trafficking. Then you have the Indian reservations who are penetrated throughout the whole year, and they have those workers who are on the reservations who are under their own jurisdiction, who are able to go into them free and will into our Indian communities and not have any consequences. When there's 400 miles of a distance to get to the nearest police station, you know, so it happens so often, not just even in the hooded areas, while girls go runaways and they go to the police department to report the runaway of my dear daughter or my dear granddaughter or even a neighbor. And you have 24 hours to say, or wait and say you can't report that person missing for 24 hours. Guess what? I could be out the country in 24 hours, right? In a whole different country. Texas is a very high usage of trafficking because it's a lot of highways in Texas. 20, 45, 30, 35, 183, and they all go different directions. Be it the East Coast, be it the West Coast, be it southern states, to where it can happen so fast and no one ever noticed you missing. So it's so many things. I can mention so many in that, but I would definitely say in those, be aware of your surroundings, Brother Calvin, and teach your children to be aware of their surroundings. And don't allow your children to just be free willy-nilly by themselves and you not know where your children or even your wife or your husband are. We have to keep our eyes on every person that we touch. And the women, I always say with the women, I know you're an adult, right? I've been doing this for years by myself. I don't know nobody know where I am. Guess what? It's good to have one person, a close friend, a mother, a sister, whomever know where you are. So we'll have a place to start. But if we have no idea what you've done in the past 3 or 4 hours and something happened, we have no beginning, Brother Calvin. Nowhere to start.
Wow. Again, that's these things, brothers and sisters, if you're listening, this is something very important that we all have to heighten our awareness too. And, you know, again, in learning more and more, because there's a lot of nuances that one could learn about all 3 of these tragic crimes. But in learning more and more, people sometimes tend to think that, you know, I live in a relatively nice, quiet neighborhood. You know, I have a nice family unit together. You know, we're providing for our children. This can never happen to me. And one of the things that I've learned through your platforms and others is that there's a process, and I'm going to ask you to explain it. It doesn't necessarily happen right away, but they can be involved in this process over time to literally willingly give themselves to a sex trafficker. Could you explain what that is and how that occurs?
Yes, sir. And it's now, Brother Calvin, that you mentioned that way, because now a lot of the reports are saying that these girls are not always snatched, right? Or that woman was not snatched. She went under her own will over a period of time. Because now I'm unhappy with my home. My husband's not treating me right. Or my parents don't give me enough attention, right? Or my friend, this girl, for a guy, this girl bought me the new iPhone. She bought me the new game system, got me the new sneakers. So over time, she's won him in, right? got them a new car, not the Jeepers Creepers van, right? But an actual Genesis or a BMW or even just a regular hoopty to someone who has nothing, right? And they groom them over time and treat them with the best thing, the best gifts and the nice hairstyles and the dinners, things you've never experienced in your life, be it from a child to an adult. Past Red Lobsters, right? Past Cheesecake Factory. We go into the nice restaurants and the nice dresses, or even just the regular KFC or Williams Chicken. You know, I've never gotten those things. And it's consistent, right? Getting these gifts. And so at the right time and the right moment, the right place for them, as the recruiter, they bring you in slowly and start you having to meet their friends and, you know, meet their associates. And over time, one night, it happens for you. Kanika Jenkins was a perfect example of hanging out with her friends, and they had a party at the hotel in Chicago, right there by the Rosemont, and they had a great time. And her friends were in on this game, and they all got a cut from that activity. And a month after that, her best friend was found in an abandoned building, and she was cut up to her fingers.
Wow.
You know, so it's not always a snatch. It could be a time after time. They learn you, learn your family, your parents, your friend, your close friends, your cousins, and then all of a sudden, you're bought into in that comfortable state, and now you're unwillingly in a place you don't want to go and hard for you to get out of.
Wow. You know, this is such an intense topic, and to know that we're not using hyperbole, but these are things that are happening more frequently than we can imagine. And, you know, I was actually listening to a woman who had become a recruiter, and alarmingly, she had mentioned she was being open about it. She went from being sex trafficked to being a groomer. And she mentioned one of her most popular ways that she would get women is going to church and waiting for the altar call and waiting to see the women who would go up in the altar call, because she knew that they would be more vulnerable in that state. And I was actually alarmed, because it's not just, you know, one would think of a church or a mosque or a synagogue or a temple as being a safe place, but none of these places have been immune. I was reading an article I think it was in Philadelphia, where a sex trafficking house was being portrayed as a mosque, and so this could happen if we don't keep our eyes open. And you know, this part I had to, as a brother, think about, and I want to see if you could kind of elaborate on it. You know, growing up as a young man in America, you know, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, born in 76. And I came of age to the pimp culture, right? And for a young man, that was kind of the culture. That was, you know, the end thing. And, you know, I remember listening to Big Daddy Kane's Pimpin' Ain't Easy. You know, we've all heard Jay-Z, Big Pimpin', and this is not to bring shade on them. This is just to talk about the type of culture. The pimp was a cool thing. It was something to aspire to. Just for clarity, just to set the record straight, is pimping sex trafficking?
In a form, yes, it is. It's just that the thing about it is that when you look into our music, because I was the female of what you're listening to, right, and I had no problem with listening to Too Shorts and the Easy E's and the Ice Cubes and the NWAs, and I was that chick, as they say, you know, and I liked it, and not knowing that I was degrading myself. You know, you listen to Tupac, you listen to Biggie, you listen to Jay-Z, and you really into that. But as you grow up, like you said, you grow up and you have a different understanding of what these things and what you were calling yourself. Like, whoa. But in calling yourself these things, you are okay with what they were doing to the young girls in that, the Aaliyahs, the Lil Kim, the Foxy Browns, who were so young, but they were trying to pave a way. And I love them all three. I'm just only an example. But in that, they were lowering themselves. And then doing that, you were opening up the girls who were listening to the music who didn't understand the other side of the game. So when a guy like a Jay-Z or a Tupac came up to you, you like, it's whatever. Because, I mean, hey, he said it in the song that, you know, X, Y, and Z happens, but you're not knowing that you really tricked into trafficking. You know, you were tricked into, into a behavior that's not becoming of anything or any standard, but you were lowering yourself to be a victim of just what we're talking about now, which is trafficking in a sense. And I've heard Too Short say that when he was rapping, he would always ask the producers, like, man, can I just make one conscious rap song about something besides the same thing? And they told him no. He knew that what he was saying out of his mouth was not the best thing for the Black women, but he was not even allowed to even express the love that he had for the Black woman. And that's why Tupac had a hard time with being able to talk about the Black woman, because they made it so much of a negative thing about us. So now we have the Nicki Minaj's, and she's a sweetheart, and the Cardi B, she's awesome. And they only portray these things, but the girl behind the scene who don't know, the average girl who don't know, is trafficking involved all up and through that. But you don't see the other side because you only heard it in the car. And that Black man, he's singing the words to these songs by Offset, but not knowing what he's giving out in the community. And our young men hear it and they act upon what they do and what they hear, not knowing it's damaging our own communities through the airways. That's why it's called a radio program. It's a TV program. It's programming your mind to do what you hear, not what your heart says and knows what's wrong and what's right, but it's what you hear constantly in your ear pods 24 hours a day. Even when you sleep on your television, it's going and it's running a program on your mind to make these things as trafficking okay. And it's not okay.
Wow. You know, again, this is something that in order to make an impact, people need to become at least aware of what's going on. Now, for those of us watching, those of us who are listening, you know, if you could shed light, is it that, do we need to make some huge grand gesture to try to curb what's happening and stop it? Or are there things, simple things that we can do, become aware of, or actions that we can take to become involved in really attacking this crime?
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, our dear teacher, had said he wanted to have 10,000 fearless. And in having the 10,000 fearless men and women to be more involved in our communities, do it how we were taught. Everybody on your street knew everybody on the street. Now we're so individualized to where we don't even know who our neighbors are. We speak, you know, how you doing, and keep going, but you might be living next door to a pedophile and don't even know it. So we have to be able to start building our communities up so that we can network, even with survival training, even with buying water in your neighborhoods, to finding out who is hungry, who lives by you, who haven't eaten in 3 or 4 days. There's a whole family of children who were in their home for almost a year and didn't even eat. Their parents weren't even around, and the baby in the back room is transitioned. We don't know, right? So again, going back to 10,000 fearless to be able to build our communities. And with building a community, you'll be able to weed out a lot of the madness. And you'll be able to help teach and train the women and the children in your community the simple things of awareness and knowing what they look like, what it sounds like, what it smells like. Uniting our neighborhoods, number one. Number two, taking time out of our busy schedules, those who have knowledge. An hour a day in a community center, an hour a day of you even building your own network and own sources in your community. It may start out small. You might have 1 or 2 children show up, but then you start doing things and they start seeing the youth doing stuff, and they painted a building, they picked up trash, they did something, it will begin to grow momentum over time, but it might not happen overnight. Consistency, we are very handicapped, Brother Calvin, when it comes to starting something and then over a month, we're tired, we're not getting no cooperation, so we stop. No, keep driving the idea. And over time, it'll blossom into a beautiful project or a beautiful foundation or a beautiful network in your communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then Grandmaster Abdul Aziz, our dear teacher, says, reach one, teach one.
Mm.
You can't save everybody on the planet by yourself. But if you're able to rub off a little of you off, and then to that one child, and then one child rub off on the other child, called peer pressure, right? Not always negative. Start giving yourself to those who are in your community and help to build what's going on, and eventually it'll grow into a beautiful thing in another way. Martial arts is not just about the physical hands all the time and the choking and the grabbing and the shaking, but it's the knowledge of self, learning who you are, learning the things you can do, and what you thought you couldn't do, guess what? You can better than you thought you could ever do in your life. So we want to be able to help the martial arts grow. Then the community, the ummah, we say, in our communities, building to make these things happen. Those two things alone could change the world overnight, because it builds the knowledge of who you are, the value of who you are. Like Silent Crimes, we love to teach the children who you are and what has happened to you. Unfortunately, you were penetrated by sex trafficking. You were hurt through molestation. You were hurt through domestic violence, women, but you're able to overcome. That does not make you who you are. You are standing here, you are having this conversation, you're able to hear me. Now it's time to be able to heal, and with healing, that can also be a way of sharing your story out, not just always beating yourself. I'm a victim. No, you're not. You're a survivor, and you were able to overcome that, and now you're here to be able to smile in any condition, in any capacity, to tell your story. So that was 3 ways right there, Brother Calvin. 3.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
To be able to make some changes happen in our community. Yes, sir.
All praises be to Allah. And you know, I'm glad you brought up silent crimes, because I know that a lot of people, especially after this dialogue, I want to make sure, and I'm encouraging everybody to make sure that you're following and supporting. Can you tell us a little bit about silent crimes and how people can stay in contact, and what we can do to support it?
Definitely, brother. My student minister here, Brother Al Shahid, and Brother James, who's also on the student minister staff, came up with an idea for me. Like, you know, Sister Danielle, you had this great impact. And I'm like, what? As you, Brother Calvin. And I'm like, how? I'm so comfortable with being behind the scenes. It's really okay, right? And so they're like, no, we got the school we gonna go to. We want you to come. And I'm like, a school in front of children? You know, they're the heaviest critic of ever. Like they straight up, right?
That's right.
And so I began to start doing the schools, but they're loving me, right? And they're loving the information I'm giving to them. I'm like, wow, right? And so I began to start digging research on these women and these girls who have been abused. Like, how is this happening in our communities? How are we getting past the fact that we're being abused? We're being domestic violated, in our own communities, and then we have no one to talk to. So I'm like, how is it happening? But it's happening. So I found other women that I'm very close to who had the same concern. So I'm like, what can we do to help build this awareness of this sex trafficking, that our little girls are in the school with a face full of tears and they have no one to listen? The counselor's not listening. The teacher's not listening, but they have so much rage and anger. They want to fight every day. I want to fight. I want to beat her up. Why do you want to beat her up? Because she got pain in her system that she can't have a way to exhaust how she feels. So we made a way to be able to bring a platform to help her get her anger out. It's a legitimate pain. That man beating her every night, or that woman who sexually assaulted her. Hear what I say. That woman sexually assaulted another young woman, or even a Black boy who's hurting because he's been violated. And as a man, you don't feel comfortable talking about your abuse to another woman or even another man, let alone about what has happened to you. So in that, we came up with strategies and techniques, not to focus on the trauma of what's happened to you, but the healing. How were you able to overcome the fear and the pain that you have experienced in your life, Brother Calvin? It happens. So then I meet my dear teacher, Grandmaster Abdul-Aziz, who says, you know what? It can happen for you. Teach them. Teach them with your heart. Don't focus on the pain. Focus on the ways to be able to heal again. So the silent crimes over time build into the wonderful team that I have, a healer. I have a sister who works on the CPS or the state side of protective services, I would say. Then I have one that works behind the scenes, praise be to Allah, who makes everything make sense. Then I have 2 youth who said, you know what, even though we're younger, we're only 14, 16 years of age, we want to help you in getting it out to the youth. So a team was built. Then Brother Calvin came on, Sister Ivanka came on, and now we're standing with an actual team to be able to teach and talk about what is happening in our communities as the silent crime. Why silent crimes? It's happening, it's an actual crime, but it's silently talked about. People are uncomfortable with talking about this, Brother Calvin. They don't really feel comfortable about being molested or being abused or being an abuser, right? So we're helping them to make it say it's okay to release the energy that you're holding in. And we're gonna listen, not judge you. We're gonna listen to your heart talk. And we're gonna help you with resources. We're gonna help you with ways to be able to heal, right? So yeah, it's a heavy thing, but it's spelled silent crime. Silent and crime with a Z. And why a Z? Because we have been sleeping on the silent crimes. So take the S away and put that beautiful Z right there, and it helps you to see this beautiful word of the silent crimes. And so like I say, we are here to be able to assist. We're here to be able to build. We're going to face the fact that whatever has happened to you, but now it's time to be able to heal past your pain, be it counseling or auditing or whatever it takes, burning some sage, to lighting some candles, to drawing out, to going to a beating range and breaking all the glass you see in the room, whatever it takes for you to heal in your own space. We're here to help you in that.
That's incredible. And how can people stay in contact with you? Are you on social media? If so, how can we stay in contact?
Yes, we are on social media. You can go to Facebook or Instagram, Silent Crimes. Again, it's SILENT and crimes, CRIMEZ, Silent Crimes. You can email me at silentcrimesdallas. That's Silent Crimes Dallas. And also, if you want to make a donation to help with building this platform, building the network, you definitely can go to our Cash App, which is also titled Silent Crimes. And my phone number, 214-225-5201.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Sister Danielle, we can do probably a 12-part series, each an hour apiece, and we probably couldn't come anywhere close to exhausting what you have to offer in these various subjects. So I'm so very grateful and thankful, but I can't let you go because for all of our viewing and listening audiences, you know, I told you about the national training, and for 26 years plus now, going on our 27th year, our teacher, Grandmaster Abdul-Aziz Muhammad, the national trainer of the Nation of Islam, has really been striving hard to make sure to provide the training to us. And we know that we've been able to come to Chicago once a year and have an opportunity to partake in all of the knowledge that he finds subject matter experts to give to those who are participants. Well, what some of you may not have known, that over the years, the national training has grown such that we also, throughout the year, we have small regional trainings, meaning that Grandmaster Abdulaziz will go to specific regions or specific metropolitan areas where it's highly populated and literally offer the same training that takes place at the national training. Of course, we got the large one in Chicago. Kansas City actually has it. Every year we've been slated to have the month of April. Memphis, Tennessee has been able to do it. We've been able to do it on the West Coast. We've been able to do it in the Mid-Atlantic region. These are some of the people who and teams who bring Grandmaster Abdulaziz in. And right there in Dallas, there's a team right there in Dallas of believers who work hard to ensure that every single year that they're also providing that sub-national training or that regional training of the resources that take place. And one of the things that I am elated that you all have been able to do, even despite the pandemic, you have still been working with your team, have been able to bring the training virtual. Now we have something. Can you tell us what's coming up?
You think you slick? Yes. Praise be to Allah. I am honored. We are honored. I would say Brother Amir is amazing. Teammates, Sierra is amazing. To make this happen. At first we were kind of like, we're not sure about this year, but we still pushed through and we're able to make this second year of the virtual experience happen. And of course, our dear brother Calvin is helping too to make this happen. Praise be to Allah. December the 4th is our tentative date. And it may change, just FYI for you all, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan does speak on that day. And that's highlighted, right? Like the bomb diggity. But as of right now, it's December the 4th from 1 to 4 p.m. And it's going to be we're going to have it to where we break it down for the brothers, the women, and the youth. Of course, we can't forget about our youth, right? They're going to have our own individual workshops, and then we'll definitely go into our overall breakout room together with our teacher, Grandmaster Abdulaziz. The floor will be given to him, and he'll be able to expo and share and talk about whatever comes upon his heart to give to the people. It's a very needed training. The national training is always the icing on the cake. Of course, we have so many angles in that. Definitely be able to share with you all what each city can bring and what each city's needs are, because everyone's different needs in different locations. And so, of course, to be able to have it happen here, in the Southwest region, we are able to share out, and then, of course, invite anyone who wants to join in with us, be it from New York, Chicago, Kansas City, wherever you want to. You can register for the link, and Brother Calvin will share the flyer with you all. GM is ready at eventbrite.com. Go to the Eventbrite and register today. $65 for the adults, $35 for the youth, 16 and under, 15 and under, and families are $100. In the same household, we ain't talking about Ray and Shaniqua and them and everybody in the, no, talking about one household, you all, and you're able to register for $100. It's going to be a very field compact seminar, a workshop for you all to experience. Share with your families and your friends. If you're not able to make it and you want to sponsor someone, do that. You might have to go to work. You might not, for whatever reason, can't do it. It's okay. If you have a back problem, a knee complication, you got strep throat, whatever, I would say register for the event and sit down. You're still able to gain knowledge by sitting down. You want to be involved, I understand. I can't come because my knee hurts or whatever, but you're still able to gain so much mass in that one training. So don't miss out because of what you have going on physically, because the heart and the mind will definitely appreciate whatever comes your way. So register today.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. And again, for those of you all, if you're watching this for your first time, I am going to encourage you to make sure that you subscribe of course, to the official Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad's Facebook page, and make sure that you subscribe to the national training on Facebook and Instagram, and that is at NOINTC on Facebook and Instagram, and also on YouTube under the official Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad as well. And, Sister Danielle, I am honored. I thank you for taking time out to have this dialogue. And I can guarantee you, inshallah, this is not our last time having this conversation, because you have a lot of information and your energy to share with everyone. And I hope that everyone got a good view of exactly what's going on with this heinous crime that's taking place, not somewhere on foreign soil, but right under our noses and right in our community. Yes, Danielle, I do appreciate you again. Thank you for taking time out.
Can I share something with you, Brother Calvin, before we hang up this conversation? Mm-hmm. Everyone who hears the sound of my voice, everybody, I want you to understand our teacher, Grandmaster Abdul Aziz, has a training for everybody. Today was a perfect example. Tuesday and Thursday, we trained with Grandmaster Abdul Aziz and his teacher, Soke Little John Davis. You got two of the best teachers right now who are giving you this training within an hour, 15 minutes roughly. Not just the physical again, but the mental training, the cardio, to help you. Even though we're sheltering in place, we still have to prepare ourselves to be able to get what needs to be done. So again, you can text VSK to the number 74121. That's 74121, the letters VSK. You'll get a link back, right? And I'll be able to help you log on. Then sisters, we are blessed with having him 3 days a week. That's Tuesday, Thursday, and on Saturday. Saturday is an only woman's class. You're not comfortable with training with the brothers? We understand that. So he has it to where you have a class of women by yourself, and you're able to learn ways if you're attacked, if you're choked, if you're grabbed, whatever happens to you, you're able to get out of that and be able to make these things natural. Practice makes perfect, right? So when doing that, you want to be able to get used to maneuvering, feet work, blocks, strikes, and again, the mental, that if you are grabbed, how do you respond? That 3 seconds of your life matters. So don't think because you have that street knowledge, that hood training again, that you're able to handle out. But this man's 500 pounds, 300 pounds. It's a group of men and you're able to do it by yourself. Make your fight a little easier, not for you, but for your daughters and your sons, okay? And your husband will appreciate it, right? So definitely for sisters, text the word sisters to 74121, sisters to 74121, get a link back, check in with us, and be able to get the training that you deserve and that you need to help save your life. Reach one, teach one, but the most important thing is self-preservation. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Calvin.
No, thank you. And again, this is an example of our sister. She is always on top of it. And so, again, we appreciate you taking the time out. We thank you so much. And thank you all for viewing, and thank you all for listening with us. And inshallah, we'll be talking to you again on another episode of Beyond the Mat. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
But if you come to us, we will train you, we will teach you, so that your heart is filled with love for the people that you're going to serve and the people you're going to protect.